Hey yo, what's good, everyone? I want to welcome y'all to another episode of Triggered News Topics. And I am your host, Thy Lord Amin Ra. And today's commentary is titled The Anti-Black Racism of the American News Media. Let's get into it. Now, everyone knows when it comes to the American news media that their main objective has always been to create negative narratives, especially when it comes to Black people in America. Ever since its conception, it has always attempted to make boogeymen out of Black people in this country. The images that they always have to show of us is of us being or acting as ignorant people. Only choosing to focus on those of us in the Black community that is downtrodden, uneducated, or down and out. Choosing to always put on cameras the drug addicts, the drug dealers, the hookers, the hoes, gangbangers, killers, etc. Always pushing that narrative and that image to the forefront of society. Now, one of the tactics of the American news media is disinformation. That's when they purposely is misleading the society by outright lying to the society, more specifically lying on Black people in the Black community to the society. For example, the crack cocaine epidemic. For years, the media, along with the government now, has always pushed that narrative that the crack cocaine epidemic was caused by and only pushed by the Black people of the Black community. Like we own the coca fields that grows the coke, that processes the coke. Like we own the shipping boats that smuggles the coke into our ports, bringing the coke all into the country and distributing it all through the neighborhoods, or always pushing that narrative that violent crime only happens within the Black community. Like, we're the devils of this country. Oh, I got another example. What about HIV/AIDS epidemic of the 80s and 90s? Constantly, always want to show the narrative that Black people has this disease, that Black people are spreading this disease. Almost like this is a Black disease, like we're cursed. But I remember when Brother Tariq Nasheed on one of his channels, in one of his shows, he mentioned that back in the 80s and 90s, and I remember that too, and HIV/AIDS was primarily affecting white people, or more specifically, white homosexuals. That was mostly their issues that they were dealing with. But let's not us forget about the white heroin addicts that share needles and get diseases and pass the diseases around by having unprotected sex and other stuff like that. That was majority of the people from the dominant society. Now, another tactic that they would do was when a white person, especially a famous person, would have HIV/AIDS, what they would do is they would try to hide them being inflicted with HIV/AIDS. They would make up other reasons of why the person has a deterioration of health. They would make up other causes of the person's death. Like Liberace, he died of AIDS, but they said he died of something else. Rock Hudson, and many other white celebrities that had HIV/AIDS. And that was one of their tactics. They would try to hide it. Another tactic of the American news media that they would use is straight up make something up. Or if they had something, a story, they would embellish on the story. Like if you had one, maybe two black addicts or black homosexuals or black people with AIDS. They would do anything they could to demonize black people in this country. But, that's a big but, if anything good was coming from black people out of the black community, they would reverse the tactics and then try to hide that, hide the black accomplishments, hide the black growth. And they would use different tactics. One would be a quick mention, meaning they would quickly mention something about black people or the achievements in the middle of a news program that is in a low viewership time slot, or put a small segment in the middle of a publication outlet like a newspaper or a magazine, in the middle, like I said before, or in the back. So where the regular people wouldn't, take the time to read through the whole paper or take the time to sit through the whole news show. So they will make sure that the story or the image or the narrative wouldn't get a full exposure. And what they would do is a lot of times mention it just one time and then straight bury the story. Or they'll use a more insidious tactic by race replacing. Yup, race replacing. Because if it came to something of a good innovation, a great achievement, then they'll erase the black identity of the creator, inventor, or discoverer, and then replace them with the white identity of a person. For examples, that's what they did with American music. Country, blues, jazz, rock and roll. That was created by black people. But if you look now at these genres, it's nothing but white faces. And they'll promote the narrative that like these white folks created it and they're the best at it. Also, the same thing with other American achievements. The things that black people achieved in technology, medicine, architecture, etc. all these things that help this country, but they'll never let you know that. Also, other tactics that they'll use is when something terrible happens to Black people in society, they'll always direct the narrative away from the real reason why tragedy happened to the Black folks, which we know in America, mostly 9 times out of 10 is racism. Or what they'll try to do is deflect the story away from the Black people's trauma, and they will focus on some other issues going on or other groups of people's problems to distract the public away from Black people's issues. So my people, especially my Black people, please understand that the mainstream American news media is nothing but the propaganda wing of the white supremacy army. So you must be aware and you must fight against the anti-Black racism of the American news media. Now, once again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I please ask y'all to subscribe, hit the like button, the thumbs up, and continue to tune in. I want to say good night, and this is Triggered News Topics, and I am your host, Thy Lord Amin Ra. Peace, everyone.